Hey guys, I'm Adam, and this is week number 6 of the math section of our SHSAT YouTube channel, and today we're going to be covering expressions and order of operations. So usually, I start these videos with some key tips that I think you guys should know when approaching certain types of problems. But for order of operations, there isn't many tips I could really give you. So there's only one key thing you need to remember for these types of problems, and that is PEMDAS, which you might have heard before. So PEMDAS basically dictates in what order we do certain mathematical operations. And operations are simply like multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting, right? Squaring. Those are all different types of operations. They're things we do to numbers to change them, basically. So PEMDAS, this is how we always approach these types of problems. We're always going to simplify anything in parentheses. So anything that is inside one of these always takes priority. So for example, if we have 3 times 4 plus 5, first we're going to add these two to get 9, and then we're going to multiply by 3. We're not just going to go from left to right and multiply 3 by 4 to get 12 plus 5 is 17. That is wrong. First, you add the part in the parentheses. You do the thing that is inside of the parentheses, and then you go outside. Our next thing is exponents. So another example is, for example, if we have 2 times 3 squared, we are not going to do 2 times 3, which is 6, and then square that to get 36. Again, that is wrong. What we are going to do here is first square this part, so we get 9, and then we multiply it by 2 to get 18. That is the correct answer in this case. So after that, we have multiplication and division. And although multiplication comes before division in PEMDAS, they're interchangeable, right? So you can either do multiplication or division. They're at the same level in the order of operations, but generally you are supposed to go from left to right. So if I give you 3 times 9 divided by 4, for example, you go from left to right. So you're going to go 3 times 9 is 27. 27 divided by 4 is just going to be 27 over 4. So that is how we're going to do that. And then addition and subtraction are similar to multiplication and division because they're basically opposites of each other, right? You add and subtracting, that's the same level of operation. It's the inverse operation. So for these, again, you just go left to right. So if I do 3 plus 4 plus 9, minus 9, first I'm going to do 3 plus 4, that's 7. 7 minus 9 is going to be -2. So this is the only thing you need to remember while approaching these problems, is just remember PEMDAS and you should be fine. And most of the time you just have to, pay close attention to make sure you aren't making any mistakes careless mistakes when you multiply, add, doing all these different operations. But as long as you remember this, you should be fine for these types of problems. So let's get into some practice problems. So here we have this one, solve for x. We have 7x plus 3 minus 2 times 2x plus 1 equals 13. And here, I just want to take a minute to point out is we don't have answer choices. So on the SHSAT, there are a few, but there are some math problems at the start of the math section that you don't get multiple choice options for. So most of the test is multiple choice, but around 5 or 6 questions are going to be short response. So let's just approach this. Here we have 7x. We're going to leave that. Because of our order of operations, the first thing we're going to do is the parentheses. So we're going to expand out these parentheses. We're going to leave the 7x plus 3, and then we're going to expand out, right, to multiply like that. So we're going to get -4x, because -2 times 2x is -4x, and then -2 times 1 is just going to be -2 equals 13. Now, our next thing in our order of operations, because these are all the same level of operation, we can just do everything. There's no multiplication or division or anything here. It's just all just adding and subtracting. So 7x minus 4x is going to be 3x. And then 3 minus 2 is going to be plus 1 equals 13. Now we can subtract 1 from both sides to isolate x. That is what we are trying to do here. And we'll get more into this in future videos. So we're going to do 3x equals 12. And now we're going to divide both sides by 3 in order to isolate x, get x on its own. So we're going to get x equals 12 divided by 3, which is 4. So the answer to the first one is x equals 4. Okay, so let's move on to our next one. If x equals 9 and y equals negative 7, what is the value of x times x minus 2y? So again, we see we have parentheses here. So we're first going to do the stuff inside of the parentheses. So within the parentheses, we see we have multiplication here, 2 times y. So that is the first thing we're going to do. We know y equals negative 7. So let's just plug in all our values. X is 9, so we're just going to write 9, right? And whenever you're plugging in values, it's helpful to put parentheses around them so you don't mess up and accidentally multiply or divide or, do stuff that you aren't supposed to do. So always put parentheses around stuff you are plugging in for a variable. So now let's just keep plugging in. X is 9, and then minus 2 times y, which we said is negative 7. So now we just have to simplify this. So again, we're going to do this first because this is the parentheses within the parentheses, right? So we're just going to rewrite this as 9 times 9 minus 2 times negative 7. That is going to be plus 14, right? Because the negative times a negative makes a positive. And now we have to do this stuff inside of the parentheses. So 9 plus 14, that's going to be 23. So we're going to do 9 times 23. And now we can just multiply these two. So 23 times 9, right? 7, 2, 9 times 2 is 18, plus 2 is going to be 20. So we get 207, which is answer choice D. Okay, let's move on to our next problem. If m equals 5 and t equals negative 1, what is the value of 6 minus 8 times 2 minus t all over 2m plus 4 times 3 minus m? So similar to the last one, we're just going to plug in our numbers. So let's just rewrite this with all our numbers plugged in. Again, remembering to put parentheses around everything. So we're going to do 6 minus 8 times parentheses, right? 2 minus, we're going to put parentheses here, t is equal to negative 1. And then all over 2 times 5, because m equals 5, plus 4 times 3 minus m equals 5. So we're going to do that again, right? Here, that 3 looks a little weird. Okay. So now going by order of operations, we see we have 2 parentheses here, so we can start in either of them because they're equally, leveled. So we're just going to do the top because, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to do 6 minus 8 times, first we have to do the stuff inside, 2 minus 1, that is plus, right? So it's 2 plus 1 is 3, right? Over 2 times 5 plus 4, and then 3 minus 5 is going to be negative 2. So we've gotten rid of those big parentheses. Now we can keep simplifying. 8 times 3 is going to be 24, so we can go 6 minus 24 over 2 times 5 is going to be 10, right? And then plus 4 times negative 2, that's going to be minus 8, right? And now we can just subtract. So 6 minus 24 is going to be negative 18. 10 minus 8 is going to be 2. So now you can do negative 18 divided by 2, and that is going to be equal to negative 9, which is answer choice E. Our next problem is going to be question number 91. 5x cubed plus 3x plus 9 plus 1 over x squared. If x equals 10, what is the value of the expression above? This is, again, similar to the last ones we did. You can kind of see they sometimes, they test the same topics. And another thing I just wanted to quickly bring up is a lot of times you won't get a question specifically aiming at order of operations, but you will need to use order of operations within the question. So it might not seem like there are a lot of order of operation questions, but a lot of the questions throughout the test will require you to have at least some basic knowledge of order of operations. Okay, so again, like we did last time, let's plug in 10 for x using parentheses. So 5 times 10 cubed plus 3 times 10 plus 9 plus 1 over 10 squared. Now we can, because they're all equal levels, there's only one parenthesis per one, so they're all at an equal level. We can just open all the parentheses. So 5 times, and remember, here we have an exponent, so that takes priority over the multiplication. So 5 times 10 cubed, first we have to do the 10 cubed. So 10 cubed, you just add a 0, right? So it's going to be 10 times 10 times 10, which is just going to be 1,000. So 5 times 1,000 plus 3 times 10, that's just 30, plus 9, plus 1 over 10 squared. Well, 10 squared is 10 times 10. That is 100. So it's going to be 1 over 100. Now we can keep going. We can open these parentheses. So 5 times 1,000 is going to be 5,000 plus 30 plus 9. Oh, I wrote a minus here. This is a plus. Plus 1 over 1,000. So now we can just combine like terms because they're all pluses. 5,000 plus 30 plus 9 is going to be 5,039. And then this, we can see that the answer choices are in decimal form. So we have to convert 1 over 100 to decimals. Well, that's going to be equal to 0.01 because it's already at a base of 100. So 0.01. And that is going to be answer choice B. Question number 60. The absolute value of -6 minus 5 plus 4.2 minus the absolute value of 3 minus 9.6. So here, absolute values actually serve as parentheses. Whenever you have stuff inside of absolute values, you always do that first. So we can either do this first or this first. Let's just go left to right. -6 minus 5. Well, that's -6 plus 5. So that's going to be the absolute value of -1 plus 4.2 minus the absolute value of 3 minus 9.6. And now -1 plus 4.2 is just going to be 3.2, the absolute value of 3.2, minus the absolute value of 3 minus 9.6. Well, it's going to be -6.6, right? And now that we have our absolute values in simplest form, we just have one number in them, we can get rid of the absolute values. So the absolute value of 3.2 is just 3.2, right? Minus the absolute value of -6.6, which is 6.6. So we have 3.2 minus 6.6, which is going to equal -3.4. Okay, and I believe this is our last question. Oh, no, we have two. So 88, simplify this expression. 4 times 7 minus 3x minus 5 minus x. Well, here we have parentheses, but we can't do anything inside of them, so we're going to expand by multiplying. So 4 times 7 is going to be 28, and then 4 times -3x is going to be minus 12x. Right, and now we have this minus, so we're just going to, that acts like a -1, pretend there's a little 1 there. We're just going to expand it out, and this is a common mistake people make. So -1 times 5 is going to be -5. -1 times -x is going to be plus x. This is a key mistake people will make. Now that we have everything like this in simple pluses and minuses, we can just combine like terms. So 28 minus 5 is going to be 23, and -12x plus x is going to be -11x. So you have 23 minus 11x, which is answer choice F. And now we have question 59, which is again a non-multiple choice question, an open response question. We have 6 minus 9 divided by the absolute value of -3 plus -2 cubed times 1 and 1/2. So we have a lot of different stuff going on here, different types of, operations and forms So first, let's just make sure to clean this up a little. We have to remember here that we have absolute value in parentheses. So those will take priority. So first we can rewrite this as 6 minus 9 divided by absolute value of negative 3 is just 3 plus, right? And now negative 2 cubed is negative 2 times negative 2, which is 4, times negative 2, which is going to be negative 8. So it's actually going to be minus 8 times 1 1/2, which I'd rather convert to its improper form. So that's going to be 3/2. Now, we have to still remember our order of operations. 9 divided by 3 and 8 times 3/2 are going to take priority over our subtraction and addition. So 9 divided by 3 is going to be 3. So we're going to write this as 6 minus 3. And then negative 8 times 3/2 is going to be negative 24/2, which is just the same as negative 12. And now we have 6 minus 3 minus 12. So that's just saying 6 minus 15, which is equal to negative 9, which is our final answer. So as you can see, there are a wide variety of different types of absolute value questions, but they can show up in basically anywhere. So this is a very important skill, and it might take you a little bit of time to get around this concept because it can be a little challenging to realize what you need to do first. But if you do some practice, you should be fine. And with that note, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you found this helpful. We're going to keep posting next week. And if you have any questions, just please comment. We will read them and we'll do our best to respond. So thanks so much for watching, guys.